What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So obviously we are not in the office today. We are out at a park near my house because 2 weeks ago, my wife and I had our first kid. And so house is baby everything right now. Office is a mess, nothing's really put together. So I figured I'm just gonna get out, do some stuff out in nature and make this a little bit more like a vlog style video today, and then we should be back in the office next week. So before we begin, just wanna say, parenting is the best thing ever. I've always been nervous about having kids, never really knew what to expect, but parenting our son Everett for these last 2 weeks has been incredible and so much fun. So excited to see him growing already and see a little bit of his personality, and just so excited for these next years as he grows and matures, and just to get to be his dad is such a blessing. So anyway, I'm gonna roll the intro and then we'll dive into things for today. So today I want to talk about creative burnout. So last year for me was absolutely insane. I talked about this in a previous video, just how much stuff I had going on. I shot more weddings than I ever had. I traveled more than I ever had. And so with that much work, it was really hard to stay out of a cycle of work becoming monotonous and boring. And really struggled in my own mind to just kind of stay on top of the creative game. Found myself at the end of the year in this season of just full creative burnout, where I just didn't have creative ideas, where I felt like my work wasn't original. I felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again. And so today we're just kind of diving into creative burnout, what that looks like, and kind of how to navigate that, some tips that I've learned over the last years when you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed and not creative and all of that. All right, so first things first, if you're struggling with creative burnout, or this is something you routinely struggle with year after year, just know you're not alone. I've been shooting since 2014, and I think every year, especially as I've gotten busier and busier, I've really struggled with am I being original? Am I being unique? Is the work that I'm doing actually meaningful? I've definitely gotten to points in the wedding season where I've just felt overwhelmed, I felt discouraged, I felt so tired, and just not feeling creative. And so if that's you, just know you're not alone. I think it's so easy, especially with social media, to look online and see everyone doing amazing work and traveling and posting these beautiful images and shooting beautiful video, and you're like, man, here I am just struggling to kind of make it through the season. And so if that's you, just know you're not alone. So on that note is really the first step in navigating creative burnout, and that's just acknowledging that this is a season. For real, just acknowledging the fact that you're in a season of creative burnout, you're in a season where you're gonna be more prone to those feelings of discouragement and feeling overwhelmed and feeling creatively stunted. Just having that admission is so huge. And so for me, the first step is really just going, hey, I know this is gonna be a thing. I know I'm gonna struggle with this once I get to August, September. I know it's gonna be a season where I feel overwhelmed. My wife is pretty quick to point out hey, you're feeling stressed about work, and I can tell that. How can we kind of take some steps to help you get through that and at least manage that burnout until you get to the other side? So the second step and the second kind of tip about navigating creative burnout is not to try to change your current process until you're out of the season of creative burnout. And what I mean by that is, it's so easy when you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling uncreative, or you're feeling hey, I'm just not being original, to try to do all these things to change what you're currently doing, to change a process that technically is really working. You're booking clients, you're getting jobs, and in the middle of that, it's super unwise to try to change your entire process. And so that could mean getting a whole new line of presets and trying to change your editing style, as a filmmaker, trying to change the entire way you're arranging shots or doing storyboarding or music or any of that kind of stuff. And so for me, I found I just need to trust the process. I know I'm in a season of creative burnout, and just kind of acknowledging this is a season, and then not trying to change any of my business major processes or anything until I get through that season. You're never gonna make wise decisions when you're stressed, when you're burnt out. You need time to step back, evaluate your business as a whole, evaluate your work as a whole, and go, hey, as an artist and as a creator, what is it that I want to create, and how can I best get there? And you're not gonna make those decisions, at least you're not gonna make those decisions wisely in a season of creative burnout. So tip number 2 is, don't make any major business changes, don't make any major workflow and process changes until you've gotten through the season of creative burnout. But that all comes with a caveat, because in the middle of those seasons, you're still gonna have moments of inspiration, of cool ideas, of things you might wanna change or tweak once you get through that season. And so for me, it's really important, and kind of tip number 3 is to keep a running list of good ideas, of brainstorming thoughts, of concepts of what you might want to change once you get through this season. And so for me, what that looked like was, I had a note on my phone where I would just write down on my phone whenever I had an idea. I just kept a running log. So then in November, December, when things started slowing down again, I was able to pull up my phone and look through this list and go, hey, here's all these ideas I had in the middle of the chaos. Which ones of these are worth buckling doubling down on and actually turning it into like transformative work in my business and in my creative work. So you're able to look back at those ideas and go, all right, this was a really cool idea that I had. I might want to implement this in my business. And now you actually have the mental capacity to make those changes. So the fourth thing to think about in seasons of burnout is making sure you give yourself enough time for rest. I mean rest both physically, just like getting enough sleep, and also just enough time away from work. One of the things I'm super bad at is actually giving myself time to slow down and process and think and not do work. And so I would enter seasons of just like full-on work stress where I was just thinking about work constantly. I was constantly have the computer out trying to edit things and get things done. And what that ends up doing is that just ends up burning you out in your ability to actually do work well. And so one of the things I found myself doing last year was actually giving myself some space to sleep in. Take a little bit more of like a lazy morning around the house before I jumped into the work. And what I found was because I allowed myself to actually rest, allowed my body to just kind of like refresh itself, I was able to get so much more work done in a much shorter amount of time than had I just tried to get up early, dive right into things, and just struggle the entire day to get anything done. And so it just allows you to like actually make the most of your time. So when you actually sit down to edit, you're actually editing, you're actually accomplishing stuff rather than just kind of sitting down in a coma constantly where you're just so tired, so wiped out that you can't get anything done. And so just making time for rest is so important and so helpful in just getting through seasons of creative burnout. And my last tip on how to just navigate and get yourself through seasons of creative burnout is to look for opportunities to stretch your creative muscles in ways that are outside of your line of work. What I mean is like actual creative outlets like drawing or writing or whatever that thing is for you that's like creative and allows you to stretch those muscles, but without doing exactly what it is that you do for your work. So for me, I love getting out and shooting on film. I've gotten into film photography over the last couple of years and I've really enjoyed just getting out and shooting photos where I'm not so concerned about like exactly what exposure I'm hitting. I don't have to worry about like the couple that I'm working with. It has nothing to do with my work. I'm not doing editing. I'm not backing up all the images on my hard drives or anything. I'm also a musician, so I love like playing the piano, playing guitar, and it's just super freeing and super creatively rejuvenating to be able to sit down at the piano or pick up the guitar and just like play some music. In this kind of context, I want to be a little bit more active than just passive, so I want to actually play the music rather than just listen to it, because listening to it's super restful and all that, but playing it allows that creative action to happen. And that's kind of what I mean by this, is to have those outlets of creative action where you're actually doing something creative, whether that's painting or drawing or writing or playing music or whatever that is. Finding those things in your life that are like a creative outlet where you can still be actively creating, but not actively creating in the world of work that you are in. That's super helpful for navigating and kind of sustaining yourself through those seasons of creative burnout. So hopefully that's a helpful look at just kind of some of the ways that I navigate creative burnout. This was really a thing for me last year in 2021 when I shot so much more work than I ever had before. I actually made an entire video about a lot of the lessons I learned in 2021. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out here. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, feel free to like and subscribe. That really does help out my channel. And I will see you right back here next Thursday for yet another video. All right, cheers. Peace.